Hi, I am joined today by Darien Judge, who works as a Security Operations Analyst with the Security Operations Centre at the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Darien has a diagnosis of autism and a diagnosis of anxiety disorder and depression. Darien does not see his conditions as a disability or a weakness, but rather a strength that has enabled him to have a greater insight and understanding about himself. We've asked Darien to participate and be interviewed in this web episode so that viewers can gain some understanding from the perspective of an autistic person about some of the challenges and experiences that autistic people face quite commonly in the recruitment, job market and employment process. So Darien, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Julie. I'm really happy to be here today. When I found out I was on the autism spectrum, I decided that I wanted to use my skills with communication to speak out about what it's like to live with autism.
I'm going to ask you some questions about your own experiences and how you've experienced employment and work life to date. So my first question to you is, what do you think some of the major barriers for autistic job seekers are within the traditional recruitment, hiring and interview processes?
I personally believe there are many difficulties. Many of us experience social anxiety or have damaged social skills due to how we've been treated by other people growing up. For example, I was told by people that I should stop talking so much, that I was annoying, and that I wouldn't really achieve anything in life. And I was told that by my peers and by my role models, people I looked up to. So honestly, because of this, I feel like many people, when they apply for jobs, they lack the expected social skills and they don't realize that they really need to sell themselves. They really need to demonstrate confidence that may not actually be there, but they need to be able to convince the person hiring them. And because of this, they often miss the mark and they don't include the right information on their resumes. And when they're lucky enough to get an interview, it's really common that they just fail because they don't understand how to present themselves. They don't value the same aesthetics and presentation that is stereotypically valued and considered acceptable.
It's a really good point, Darien. I think that the biggest surprise to businesses and companies when we work with them is talking about unconscious bias. And the biases that we bring every day, and we don't mean to, we're certainly not intending to exclude or discriminate anyone, but we do have preconceptions about the way people should interact and how we think people should do, and that's particularly true of the interview process. And I would say that I agree with you, where autistic individuals often sort of stumble in the traditional processes because of the biases that exist, is where there's non-conventional types of presentation, communication, or just even in terms of the characteristic traits that a person might have. And I think that can be a challenge, but that's a really good point, so thank you. Can you tell me a bit more about some of the challenges that you directly faced in finding and maintaining employment specifically?
Me personally, due to my depression and anxiety, I found it really hard to get up in the morning and motivate myself to apply for jobs. I just didn't have confidence in myself. I didn't believe in myself. And I thought I am someone who has demonstrated issues with learning quickly and on the spot. Some would say that's a learning disorder, and it's quite common actually with people who have autism. Since gaining employment though, it has been fantastic. I have to say that. It has been absolutely wonderful.
And I think that your point about the motivation to apply for a job and get up out of bed in the morning absolutely makes sense. If you have been put down most of your life or discouraged, or people that have applied for example, hundreds of jobs only to get rejection, that does get to you after a period of time, and it does affect your mental health. So Darien, you were successful and secured a position in your current role. So what do you think it was that was different about this recruitment process through the federal government talent programme?
Well, this is actually something I'm really passionate about. The talent program, unbelievable. It was a fantastic experience. I haven't ever been given tests and being given a platform to actually demonstrate my abilities before. So I really actually felt like I had a chance to, uh, at that point, it was actually one of the few opportunities I had ever been given. Halfway through the first day, I sat down with someone. They asked me my experiences, my life story, and they asked me what I wanted. And it was a very great opportunity. It was a great experience. And that just led into the rest of it, right? So the rest of the program, it was great. It was great, but it was really draining because it wasn't just, they have autism, we'll let them play with Lego for a bit and then someone gets a job. It was really hard. It was definitely a process to find the best person for the job. So I was actually tested and I did struggle at times, but I was encouraged the whole way to communicate with the hosts and tell them how I felt, tell them if I needed additional support, if I needed to take some time out, or, I really enjoyed how they used problem solving tasks, basic programming. They got us through presentations, standing in front of a lot of the people we might actually be working for later. And I really felt like this was how a suitable candidate for positions like cybersecurity, analytics, programming, and software quality assurance testing should be chosen.
Absolutely, Darien. I couldn't agree more, and not just for people who are autistic or neurodiverse. So actually being able to establish a recruitment and sourcing process that breaks down the activities and key tasks and the technical abilities that a person would need to actually undertake the role, and then practically ask those individuals to demonstrate and to showcase how they would do that in front of an employer, has a far more successful hit rate in terms of finding the right person for the job. And certainly the work that we do at Specialisterne, and you'll know that yourself, is not tokenistic. We're not about a handout of giving a person who has a disability a job. Our role is about engaging autistic and neurodiverse individuals and helping those individuals to unlock their potential so that they can show employers what they can do. But what we're trying to do is something where the playing field is semi-leveled, almost where you are actually going for a marketable job to demonstrate your skills and actually do it in a way that isn't, here's a job for a person with a disability. Going back to the job then and starting the job at ABS, in terms of your initial employment and onboarding experience transitioning into your new role, how were you assisted to ensure that you understood the expectations of your role and you had the support that you needed to learn about your new job?
There was a lot. I mean, I've been hit with just constant support from every direction, not just the employers themselves, but also Specialisterne. Specialisterne has kept in contact with me the entire time, offering support, offering me advice. They've given me advice in how I can actually interact with other services like disability employment. When we found out that, the successful candidates, when we found out that we were going to be given a job opportunity, we were then invited to participate in a education course about what to expect in the workforce, what to expect in an office job, what to expect when dealing with employers, co-workers, and how to handle the stress and problems that may arise in
office politics.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people without this would have been going in blind. And then I started at the Australian Bureau of Statistics. they were extremely supportive as well. You know, they got me to do a few courses on what I was actually going to be doing there. Then they kind of sent me around to different people in the team to see what I was actually interested in. And then I was given a supervisor. Going back to the program, during the program, they got us to write in a booklet what we needed, what we wanted for support. There were things in there like, can you handle being put in a walkway? So in open plan buildings, often there are seats in walkways and they can get really loud. So if you can't handle noise, you're probably not going to want to be put in a walkway, right? There are other things like noise canceling headphones, you know, ideas for coping and handling office life, right? So in mine, I actually said I wanted feedback, regular feedback, and not just when I've submitted work. I wanted feedback just in general. Can you tell me that I'm doing well? Because I don't know if I'm doing well, right? So every week I had meetings with my supervisor. That went really well because I was actually able to feel comfortable, feel like I was doing the right thing. I'm not sure about all autistic people, but for me, I have a little bit of imposter syndrome, you know, so I don't know if I belong. And that might just be because I've been told my whole life that I don't belong, but I don't know if I belong and if I'm doing the right thing, if I should be here. So having that feedback really was, it was amazing. And I started to feel like, yeah, I can do this. I can work. I can be successful and learn new skills and have fun. You know, during that time, Specialisterne said, hey, do you have a problem with sound? And I said, yes, of course. I cannot deal with all this sound, all this chatter, people coughing and eating. There's too much. And I was told, get in contact with your disability employment services, tell them that you want noise canceling headphones. And I did that. And immediately they said, sure, we'll get you some. What do you want? No matter,
How good is that?
yeah, no matter what the problem was, I was supported.
That is so good to hear. So it sounds like it was a real coordinated approach from the start to even where you're at now, from having the onboarding support and the expertise around preparing for workplace from Specialisterne, the contractual and worker employer relationship with People Bank, explaining and putting all that together for you, and the actual job support, the team support and the workplace support from ABS, as well as those external and community supports that you can acquire and obtain from the broader community services like DES. So it sounds like you had lots of supports around about you to make this one successful, and it's really good to hear that you've established a really good rapport and a positive rapport with your team.
It's about creating layers of support. So I know that if I make a mistake, I'm not going to end up, you know, with nothing. So having layers of support makes me feel like I can't just fail and fall down immediately and everything's ruined. I just wanted to add that I've had my contract extended twice now, and I'm working for the APS now, not through People Bank.
Directly, How did you establish your relationship with your supervisor, and how did you go about doing that to make sure that you could get the best out of what you needed?
Yeah, well, I actively communicated with him, and at first it was a little bit weird communicating face to face. You know, I can be a bit nervous when it's one-on-one sometimes. So there was a lot of Skype communication back and forwards, you know. And I think I was quite lucky with this supervisor because he was asking me, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Do you need anything? And I don't think everyone's going to get that lucky. So it was, I don't think there was any distinct form of relationship or establishment of relationship with my supervisor. It was just a slow and steady building of trust.
Did you identify any workplace adjustments or adaptations that you needed to help you be more efficient and effective in your role up front, or how did you do that along the process of your employment at ABS?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I didn't actually identify any adjustments that I needed. I was in the program and we were being encouraged to fill the booklet out, and I thought, I don't need any adjustments. I'm really easygoing, and I wouldn't want to ask for anything anyway because I don't want to be a burden. And I was encouraged to just write something down, at least one thing. So I said feedback. That is a really easy adjustment to give because everyone wants feedback, right? I found that the noise was a big problem, and I was talking to my support person within Specialisterne, and they suggested headphones. And I wasn't sold right away. I then got feedback that maybe I was getting a little bit distracted too much because there were some really talkative people in my section. So I got that feedback. And then again, I was told headphones, noise canceling headphones will help with the noise. They will help keep you on task because you won't get distracted. And I thought, all right, sure, let's try it out. And I got them. And then it was just one of the most incredible things in my life. I don't know how to fully express the magic of being able to go on a public bus with 50 other people screaming and having their own conversations, smells everywhere, noise, little rattling, things happening, phones going off. And I'm just sitting there in pure silence. Yeah, I get into work, I sit down, I talk a little bit to people, and I think to myself, hang on, I need to stay on task. So I get my headphones out, I put them on, silence. And I just get to work. And no more people coughing, sneezing, chewing, taps being turned on and off, phones going off. And trust me, in an office with over 100 people, there are phones going off constantly, right? These headphones just changed everything for me. Now I don't go anywhere without them. And I would recommend this to anyone, even if they think, I don't like noise, but I can deal with it. If you have the opportunity, it is amazing. And I just want to thank Specialisterne for really encouraging me to make adjustments when they identified something that I was having issues with, even when I didn't.
Sometimes it is hard to identify, especially when you haven't done a job before, or if you've just started a job, it's hard to know what your adjustments are going to be until you're in there. So that's why the Specialisterne mentors and coaches are there with you for that sort of journey into your employment, so that as you start to get into the job, that when things come up, so if you're being distracted or if your working hours, like you said, aren't working for you, these are things that you can explore and adjust as you go along. So my next question, Darien, then is, do you feel that the team around you are supportive and inclusive at ABS?
Yeah, I would say yes, 100%.
Do you feel that across the ABS there's a good understanding and grasp of autism and neurodiversity, and that's sort of integrated into the workplace now?
I do not think the workforce in general does have a good understanding of autism. I don't think they value autistic individuals, at least not to the extent that they should. I don't think they value autistic individuals as much as what they would consider normal people, neurotypical people. However, in comparison to the landscape, I guess, the ABS, I think, does stand out. I do think it stands out as a landmark of diversity and of support. They make a huge effort, and it's not just directly interacting with me. And I've had quite a few interactions with people much higher than me while in this position, but it's just in general, the emails they put out, the workshops they do, the fact that they have an autism network set up to allow employees who are autistic to connect and create something or just find people they can relate to. It's really good. And before I actually started my employment at the ABS, there was a workshop, I'm pretty sure, with Specialisterne to educate all the employees on autism. And I think that's really great because I know everyone who like I interact with who went to that, and everyone has been really great, and I felt comfortable in actually telling people, yeah, I'm that autistic guy.
Yeah, they have established a really strong culture, and that's great to hear that you got feedback and that you heard from the people that attended the training. Actually, that training didn't just happen once, and we continued to coach and mentor the individuals that work in the teams around, and the managers and the supervisors and any of the key diversity leads, to make sure that it's not just a one-off training that we give to people to sort of develop their knowledge and practice in the workplace. We did that over a period of time. So next question, Darien, for our audience is, I want you to tell me a bit more about your current work and what some of the key activities and responsibilities are in your existing role.
Well, as a cybersecurity analyst, it's very hush-hush, so I can't tell you that much. No, I'm kidding. It's not actually that impressive.
Maybe just the technical components then. Don't tell me the detail, just tell me the technical.
I'm Darien Bond, working undercover for Australia. Within the ABS, I actually operate as a cybersecurity analyst, or CSOC analyst. The SOC stands for Security Operations Center. It's almost like you've got a river and there's a filter on the river, and you're just going through it, like picking through everything and looking at anything interesting. It actually is a little bit more interesting than what I've described, but the concept does.
That's the concept. You're filtering through things,
yeah.
Has there been any standout points or highlights for you so far in your career or in your working life that you're particularly proud of, Darien?
I think my main highlights have been my opportunities to speak on behalf of autistic people. And this is, I believe, my fourth opportunity. My favorite one, though, was definitely Autism at Work Summit. Yeah, it was amazing. It was honestly amazing. All the people there, incredible. I found role models there. I had a book. I was writing down things that I thought were great, and there were times where I was just sitting there like, wow, like there are so many great people in this community.
Since you've started working, and particularly in the role most recently at ABS, have you experienced any notable changes or had any sort of significant impacts in terms of what it's meant to your personal life?
Well, finally an easy question. I have money. I can do things. I can eat sushi. Honestly, the feeling responsible and having been given opportunities in life, having control. These are just some really important things in most people's life. But since working at the ABS, since gaining employment, I have really changed my life. I have started adding furniture to my apartment.
It's good to hear.
I bought things that are necessary, like warm clothes. So before I was just cold all the time. Cold is just like, that is how you're going to be. But I started going to the gym. I started exercising and eating healthy instead of just eating 10 cans of tuna a week. So I'm now eating healthy, having different meals. I actually take time to cook now. It's weird. Now that I have less time, I'm more motivated to cook and have fun and do things other than just play video games. So, yeah, my life has changed incredibly.
And any holidays or vacations or any other types of social activities?
I went to Canada. I went to Canada for 9 weeks. I thought, I'm going to have a white Christmas. This is so exciting. All these American movies and their damn snow Christmas. I've never experienced that. It's just a dust bowl. Well, I went there. Snow was amazing for about 5 minutes until I realized it's wet. It is so wet and cold. So I plan to go back there again during their spring when I might be able to see a bear. There's one thing I wanted to add, and that is all of these things combined, I spend, I'd say 90% of my days happy now. And I'm not saying just like content, just, I'm okay. I'm not sad. I'm not happy. I actually spend most of my time happy now. one of the biggest impacts has been employment. Having the independence has really given me the tools I needed to combat depression. It gave me the tools I needed to combat the negative side effects of being an autistic person in our society. But I think that in our society, we artificially create negativity for autistic individuals. So employment has really helped me.
Yeah, and I think social and economic participation and having a social life and the ability to spend money makes everyone happier, to be fair. So thank you for that, and thanks for sharing that. And I'm so pleased to hear that has had such a massive impact and change to your life and your health and your happiness. So what would be the 2 top things that you would ask or encourage recruiters or hiring managers to change about the current or the traditional hiring system or recruitment processes to ensure that they can be more inclusive of neurodiverse and autistic individuals?
It is becoming harder and harder for businesses to not be inclusive, to, I guess, specifically exclude, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is suddenly opening their arms and trying to become inclusive. So what I want to say to everybody, not just public employers, not just private recruiters, and not just autistic individuals, just everyone, is that there doesn't have to be a set in stone recruitment process. You don't have to just have a CV, have a short 1-page essay that features 5 buzzwords and then you get an interview. You can actually create a recruitment process which allows everybody to shine, that allows people to actually demonstrate their skills in that position. I'm very passionate about the work and recruitment process that Specialisterne is pushing for, because it's not just a benefit to autistic people. And I feel like this might be a misconception. This isn't just a way to give autistic people a chance. This is showing everyone that you can use different recruitment processes, new recruitment processes, which aren't a century old. Like, you can change the way things work. No one's really saying you have to do it this way. People just do it that way because it's easy, because that's how everything has always been done. But we really have an opportunity at the moment. Unironically, it is 2020. We have the opportunity to change how things are. And, honestly, if you get a neurotypical person in and you get them to sit down and do all these tests and show that they are talented, you will find the best person for the job. They might be neurotypical, they might be autistic, but they're the same person with the same skills going through this, demonstrating their skills. It doesn't matter if they can speak or not. It doesn't matter if they feel comfortable in crowds or not, right? I think it's just so important. And I want to speak specifically to autistic individuals and tell them that just because you aren't neurotypical, just because you aren't everyone else, doesn't mean that you don't have just as much of a right to enjoy life. You can make life into what you want. And if you seek out organizations like Specialisterne and you work with government services like disability employment services, you can actually have a good life. It just doesn't matter what anyone has ever told you. It's just on you.
Such a thoughtful answer, Darien.
No one's broken.
And absolutely, and I think that your call to recruitment businesses and hiring organisations to mix it up a bit, and the very comments you made, that if you think about testing people more practically, assessing people for the technical skills and abilities and attributes that they have, has absolute universal application and will work for everyone, and it will make the employment and recruitment process a fairer place for everyone. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me.